There is a very thin line in the NFL that separates bravery from stupidity, the courage to step onto the field from the irresponsibility of putting an entire career at risk. This Sunday, the Green Bay Packers aren't just traveling to Colorado, they are voluntarily walking into the Wolves' den. The destination is Denver. The opponent is the Broncos, a team boasting an 11-2 record that has turned their stadium into a graveyard for visitors this season. But the news keeping every fan in Wisconsin awake at night isn't about the altitude. It isn't about the cold. It is about one man, one knee, and a decision that could either save or condemn the 2025 season. Josh Jacobs has returned to practice. To the inattentive reader, this is good news. The starting running back is back. Let's celebrate. But if you look closer, if you read between the lines of the injury report and cross-reference that data with the brutality of the defense awaiting us, the good news begins to look like a horror movie script. Today, we aren't just talking about football. We are talking about risk management. We are talking about desperation. This video is about how far a team is willing to go to win a regular season game. Is it worth sacrificing the physical integrity of your biggest offensive star to try and break Denver's invincibility? Welcome to the cruelest dilemma of Week 15. Welcome to a suicide bet. To understand why starting Josh Jacobs is such a high-stakes gamble, we first need to respect the magnitude of the problem on the other side. The 2025 Denver Broncos are not the joke of a few years ago. Under Sean Payton, and with a defense playing at a historic level, they are statistically the most violent unit in the league. Let's look at the cold numbers, because they don't lie. They lead the NFL in sacks, and they suffocate the passing game. Playing against Denver at Mile High this year has been synonymous with asphyxiation. Teams go in, oxygen runs out, the defense pressures, and the offense collapses. Here is the key point. The Broncos' defense was built to destroy quarterbacks. They force you to become one-dimensional. If you can't run the ball, they release the hounds. They send blitzes from every angle. Now, put yourself in Matt LaFleur's shoes. You have Jordan Love, a talented quarterback, but one who desperately needs offensive balance. If the Packers take the field without a respectable ground game, Jordan Love will have to throw the ball 40 or 50 times. Against a secondary led by Patrick Surtain II, that is asking to be intercepted. That is asking to lose. The Packers need to run the ball. It's not an option. It's a vital necessity for survival. And who is the only man on this roster capable of carrying the load against an elite defense? Who is the only player who brings the physical element, who wears down defenders, who turns negative yards into 4-yard gains? Josh Jacobs. And this is where fate plays a cruel joke. Right in the week we face the biggest physical challenge of the year, our most physical weapon is broken. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Josh Jacobs' knee. On Thursday, he didn't practice. On Friday, he returned as limited. In NFL language, that is often code for he's going to play through pain. But what does it mean to play on sacrifice against the Denver Broncos? Running back is the most thankless position in sports. A runner's knee is his shock absorber, his brake, and his engine. Jacobs is a cutback runner. His style isn't just running in a straight line. He plants his foot, twists his body, and explodes in the other direction. Every one of those movements places absurd tension on the ligaments. Now, add the mile-high factor. The altitude. The body swells faster. Recovery between plays is slower. Muscle fatigue sets in earlier, and when the muscle tires, joint protection disappears. If Jacobs takes the field at 70% or 80% capacity, he isn't just being less effective, he is vulnerable. Imagine the scene. 3rd and short. Jacobs gets the ball. The Broncos' defensive line breaks the block. He tries to make a sharp cut to avoid a tackle. The knee, already unstable, has to withstand 200 pounds of force plus the inertia of the movement. It is in that millisecond that careers change. It is in that snap that seasons end. The question echoing in the hallways of Lambeau Field that no one wants to answer out loud is, are we rushing his return? If he plays and aggravates the injury, we lose Jacobs for the playoffs. If he doesn't play, we likely lose the game against the Broncos and complicate our playoff spot. It is the classic dilemma of short-term versus long-term, and in the NFL, the not-for-long league, the short-term almost always wins. The fear of losing your job today speaks louder than the player's health tomorrow. But this isn't just about sports medicine. It is about group psychology. It is about leadership. When Matt LaFleur looks at the locker room and says, Josh is playing, he is sending a powerful yet dangerous message to the rest of the roster. The positive message is, we don't quit. We are going to war with our best. This game is a final for us. That inflames the team. It shows the coaching staff believes it's possible to beat the invincible Denver Broncos. However, there is a dark side to that coin. If Jacobs enters the field limping, if he is an easy target, if he has to be carted off in the second quarter, the message changes instantly. The message becomes, we are desperate, we don't trust the reserves, we are panicking. And nothing destroys a team's morale more than the smell of desperation coming from its own leadership. Think about Emmanuel Wilson or Marshawn Lloyd. What goes through their heads? The coach prefers to put a guy on one leg out there than trust me 100% healthy. That creates cracks, that creates doubt. And against a team like Denver, playing with arrogant confidence, any doubt is fatal. The mantra of spirit, head, and heart needs to be aligned. If the head, LaFleur, risks the heart, Jacobs, without spirit, trust in the squad, the structure collapses. Let's go deeper into tactics, because this is where the suicide bet becomes even more evident. Sean Payton and his defensive coordinator, Vance Joseph, are not idiots. They read the injury reports. They have access to the same practice tapes we do. They know Josh Jacobs isn't 100%. What does a smart defense do when they know the opposing running back is wounded? They test that weakness. Expect to see the Broncos attacking the legs. Expect to see a defense that forces Jacobs to move laterally. They won't let him run north-south. They will stretch the field, forcing Jacobs to plant that injured knee and pivot. It is sadistic, but it is strategic. If the Packers put Jacobs on the field, he becomes the focus of the Broncos' defensive game plan. Let's hit him until he asks to leave. And if the Packers try to use Jacobs merely as bait, a decoy, put him on the field to fake the run and throw the ball, it might work for 1 or 2 drives, but the NFL adapts fast. As soon as Denver realizes Jacobs lacks explosion, they will stop respecting the play action. And we return to the initial problem: Jordan Love against the world. Ironically, the presence of a limited Jacobs might hinder the offense more than the presence of a healthy, explosive backup. An injured player on the field limits the playbook. You stop calling outside runs. You stop calling flat passes. The offense becomes predictable. And against the top 1 defense in the league, predictability is death. You might be asking yourself, but if it's so risky, why the hell would they consider it? The answer lies in the standings. It's mid-December, week 15. The Green Bay Packers do not have the luxury of saving players. The margin for error is gone. Losing to the Broncos, while understandable given the opponent's strength, could knock the Packers out of the playoff zone, depending on divisional and conference results. Every game now is single elimination. The coaching staff is looking at this game as a golden opportunity. Breaking the Broncos' home invincibility would give the Packers momentum, the moral push needed to become a real Super Bowl contender. Winning in Denver proves you can beat anyone, anywhere. That is why the temptation is so great. The prize is gigantic, the glory of toppling the giant in his castle. They look at Josh Jacobs and think, if he gives us 15 carries, 60 yards and a touchdown, that could be the difference between winning by 3 points or losing. The logic is seductive, but logic ignores biology. The history of the NFL is full of these moments. Remember Robert Griffin III in 2012. The coach left him on the field injured in the playoffs. The result? The knee exploded, and a phenomenon's career was never the same. But we also remember Terrell Owens in the Super Bowl, returning from a broken leg to play like a giant. We love stories of overcoming odds. We romanticize pain. He gave his blood for the team. But we forget that for every Terrell Owens, there are 10 players who came back too soon, aggravated the injury, and hurt both the team and themselves. Josh Jacobs was a massive investment for Green Bay. The Packers aren't just risking Sunday's game. They are risking the financial and sporting asset of the next 2 or 3 years. Would the fans' short memory forgive Matt LaFleur if Jacobs tears a ligament in the first quarter? Why did you put him out there? Would scream the same people who today say he needs to play. Leadership requires making unpopular decisions to protect the team from itself. Sometimes, the best move is not making the obvious move. So, we return to the title's question. Is it a suicide bet? Yes and no. It is suicide if we look only at medicine. It is suicide to put an unstable knee against the decade's most physical defense. But in the NFL, prudence rarely wins trophies. The Green Bay Packers decided the risk is worth it. They decided that without Josh Jacobs, defeat is certain. And with him, there is a chance. A small, fragile, dangerous chance. By starting Jacobs, the Packers are telling the world and the Denver Broncos, we didn't come here to be supporting actors in your invincibility party. We came to fight, even if we have to bleed for it. Sunday, when Josh Jacobs takes his first carry, hold your breath. Don't just look at the yards gained. Look at how he gets up. Look at the expression on his face. Because every snap will be Russian roulette. It could be the snap that takes us to the playoffs. Or it could be the snap that sends us home with a player on the injured reserve list and a season in the trash. Denver smells blood. They know the prey is wounded. It remains to be seen if the Packers are leading a lamb to the slaughter, or a Trojan horse ready to shock the world. The bet has been made. The chips are on the table. Josh Jacobs' knee is the price of admission. And you? I want you to be the general manager right now. Forget the fan emotion for a second. Look at the facts. If the decision were yours, would you risk the long-term health of your best player to try and beat the best team in the league on the road? Or would you accept playing with the reserves and preserve Jacobs for a more winnable fight the following week? Comment below, total risk or prudence. The discussion will be heated and I want to see your arguments. Sunday, the answer will come on the field. And the only certainty is that it will be painful to watch. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, because as soon as the game ends, we will be here to analyze if the bet paid off or if the house won. Until then.